This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to The Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast since 2015. And while we're on that, let me do a quick order of business here because we got a bunch of questions on it. And as I have mentioned quite a few times in recent podcasts, we started to schedule out our tour calendar for our live shows for this year and possibly into next year. And we're very happy to be doing that because the people who come to our shows are very happy to be doing that because the shows really are fucking awesome. They're awesome. They're great shows. They weren't always, at least not for everyone or everywhere. They weren't all great back in the old days. But since the midpoint of doing this, since we really got sort of the tone right and got enough feedback and got enough reps in of doing show over and over and over, which is about mid-2016 or so, every show we do now is just amazing. You know, we have this shit down. But we get asked a lot, how come you don't come to this city? Or how come our city isn't on your schedule? Or it isn't on it anymore? And there's a couple reasons for that. And those reasons are pretty simple. And I think they're pretty reasonable. First of all, we simply don't do as many shows as we used to. We just don't. I need a life. I mean, I think in 2015 or 16, I did 100 and something shows in a year. And I've been on the road for the better part of 8 years. Even last year when most of the world was locked down, I was traveling a lot. And I honestly have some other projects and priorities, and I can't do 50 cities in a year anymore, either practically or logistically. And secondly, most importantly, we go where they pay us. You know? That's what we do. This podcast, I mean, you know, with sponsors and ads, you can call it volunteer work, but the live shows most definitely are not. This is show business, and that's the business side of this show. We need a certain amount of money to do it. That's the reality. That's the job. You know, will we do the occasional one-off for charity or something special? Of course, because we're delightful around here. But that's an exception. The reality is they got to buck up. They got to write us the check. And we pack the house wherever we go, and that works well for everyone. But third, we only play venues that I think match the level of this show. And many of those are ones we have relationships with. People say, why do you always play City Winery when you go to New York? There's a lot of venues. Well, we didn't always play City Winery. We used to play, for about 2 years, we did a monthly residency at Stand Up New York, which is a small little comedy club on the Upper West Side. And it was great for us at the time, and they were great to us at the time, and it worked for where we were, but we outgrew it. And City Winery in New York City and in Boston and Nashville and DC and Atlanta, they have a few of them. They're just really nice music venues with the big stage, and they have all the bells and whistles. And trust me, they are a great place to play, and they give us everything we want, including 2 parking spaces for our tour buses. And I don't even have 1 tour bus, but I get 2 parking spaces. You know, and it's also the company you keep. Like anything else, you want to know who else plays there. So we look at the theater or the comedy club or the music venue and see what level of talent plays there. And if their calendar is filled with famous people and well-known acts, then I'm probably going to say, count me in. When we play the Hollywood Improv, we're very confident we know they know what they're doing because they've been doing it a long time and they've been doing it on a high level. When we play, I don't know, the Acme in Austin, I think that's what it's called, same thing. They're no joke. So when I look at City Winery New York calendar and I see John Mulaney's doing 9 shows there before we come in, that's the company we should be keeping. Because am I as funny as John Mulaney? I am not. Is our show as funny as the show John Mulaney does? Fuck yeah. I will go laugh for laugh against any of them, and the venues know it, and that's why we go in there, because it means those places know what they're doing, from sound to lights to ticketing to promotion to all of it. It's a little bit of a project to do one of these things, and it matters. All those things matter because it makes things easier for us, which makes things go better for you guys. So when you email us and you say, how come you never come to Duluth? Well, if there's someone in Duluth, somewhere in Duluth that wants us and they sort of meet the specs that we need, they can reach out and we'll go from there. But we aren't playing the back room of a Ramada, and we aren't playing comedy night at the local Chili's. That's just the way it works. That's just the show we have. Although you want to throw in some mozzarella sticks, and maybe we can talk about it. Anyway, transitioning sort of. So when we started to do the Great Love Debate, it's been a while now. We did our first live show on January 14th, 2014 at the Center State Theater in Santa Barbara, California. And that eventually led us to launching this podcast in the fall of 2015. So we did about 20 months of live shows before we even got to this podcast. And that's a fun fact for you new listeners. The live show actually preceded the pod, not the other way around, which is kind of unusual. And the world and society, and particularly dating culture, have gone in a lot of different directions. Up, down, bit sideways. This changed, that changed, we changed, and we have tried to ride this wave no matter what direction it went in, even if that direction wasn't necessarily parallel to the one we want to go in. But we always want us and you guys to be in control of the outcome, so that our fate is in our own hands. And we have touched a million times on what we all need to do more of, and what we need to do different, and where we need to change and grow and learn and think, and often resist whatever our natural tendencies are. And that means always taking ownership and looking at it that way, looking at it like you're in control of your dating fate. Because one of the biggest societal trends that has really cropped up and taken off since we've been doing this show has been this focus on and mantra of self-improvement. You got to get better. You got to keep at it. Got to work on yourself. Got to make some changes. Got to dig deep. Got to shake things up. Need to do this better. Need to do that better. Need to work on this and that and all of it. All of it. And I get that. But do we have the bandwidth for that? Because it's not just one thing we need to change, usually. It's countless things. You're never going to run out of things you need to change. You're never going to run out of things you need to get better at. So if something goes up and you're improving it, does something need to go down? And what I was thinking about is, should it? Should something go down so that something else can go up? Would that be beneficial to the entire self-improvement process? So all this got me thinking, as I tend to do, what could we do worse? What is important in our lives that could be a little worse? And how could that balance us out or even help us out in the grand scheme of things? I know a lot of serious fitness people believe in cheat day. Cheat day. To be clear, a lot of husbands and wives do not believe in the cheat day, so settle down on that. But the cheat day means that you can do sort of whatever you like or eat whatever you want for one day. It's a reminder to the body. It resets or kickstarts your metabolism, something like that. Don't ask me to explain these things. I finished a plate of tater tots about 5 seconds before we started this show. I know The Rock famously posts like a picture of what he's eating on his cheat day, and it's like 3 pizzas, And he's like, I got to do this bad thing so that the other things can work out. Because he thinks putting a little bad in your good helps the greater good. And what started all this in my head was thinking something came up at one of our live shows recently, the aforementioned live shows. And it was 2 women who sort of got into this public debate about the appeal of bald men, which never used to be a thing. You follically challenged fellas out there, you better pray to the shrine of Bruce Willis and Michael Jordan and Jason Statham who made all the ladies look at bald a little differently. But I have a full head of hair. It's not going anywhere. And I said in this show, I said, if I had 10% less hair, it would make absolutely no difference in my life or my relationship status. If I were 10% less intelligent, same thing. I'm probably fine. Probably fine. 10% less funny. All good. Still, it's probably imperceptible to the naked eye. 10% less wealthy. Still plenty. Give me the check. Give me the check, venues. 10% shorter. Uh-oh. Probably fucked. Terrible. Terrible that that's true. But you take 10% off 6 feet and those 72 inches become 65 inches or 5'5". A little bit too radical. A little bit too radical a change. So let's not deal with that one because we really can't deal with that one anyway. You can't shorten yourself and you guys are just nuts on the height thing. But that's 10% off. So let's focus back on the strengths and what we maybe be able to dial back a bit. If you say your strengths are that you are in good shape, and you might spend 10 hours a week staying in that shape. So if you cut that down 10% and spent, 9 hours a week on it, it frees up another hour to work on what? What would you work on with that extra hour a week? You can do a lot of good things in an hour. You can make a ton of changes in an hour. You can use that 10% worse to get 10% better at something else. Maybe you're a real nice person. Maybe that's one of your big strengths. Maybe you're a real sweetheart. You're volunteering and you're helping people carry groceries and you're raising money for charities and all sorts of things. You don't need to turn into a raging asshole, but if you just lopped a little off the top of your niceness hot fudge sundae there, just a little bit, just pull back a little bit of the whipped cream on your niceness, 10% less, found a little bit of an edge to you. Bitched a little bit more when necessary. Looked at things a little less sunny. You're still plenty nice, and it really won't affect anyone or anything around you, but it might make you a little firmer. It might make you stand up for yourself or stand up for things a little bit more. It might make you say no a bit more frequently, and there's huge value in that. Wouldn't that help the greater good in you and for you? And I'm going to continue to help the greater good in you and for you, but I got to take a quick break because this is not entirely volunteer work. And I'll be back right after this. And we are back, and we're talking about maybe get a little bit worse. So maybe you're really good at social media, telling the world about your day, your week, your man, your relationship, your life, your friends, your outfit of the day. Maybe get a little worse at that. You could do worse at that, and you should do worse at that. Try less hard. Focus on it less often. Make that, say, the 50th best thing you do, aspiring influencer out there. Make it the 50th best thing you do instead of the first or the 5th. And watch how the tide raises in other aspects of your life, and especially in your dating situations. Maybe you're a really great son or daughter or sister. Awesome. Great. Nobody's going to blame you for that. That's a wonderful attribute. But take some of that focus and energy and reciprocation and share it with someone else. Is there plenty to go around? Perhaps. Maybe not. But I think there is. It's always about focus. And essentially, focus is always determined by bandwidth. You aren't robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're just trying to find a way to include Peter, Paul, and Mary. Spread your positive light around. Do this a little less so you can do that a little more. This worse, that better. Nothing will suffer. I guarantee you that. Everything you do that you are great at or focus on will be just fine if you just took 10% off the top. Tithing. Is that what it's called? Is that what it's, tithing? Tithing? Not teething. Tithing. Where you take 10% of your earnings and give them to your religious organization. And it isn't seen by people who do that, and God bless you if you do that. It isn't seen as depriving yourself. It's seen as paying something forward towards the greater good. Same concept. Take some from here, give it there, and watch what happens. You think you're a style maven? Think you're a real fashionista? Dress down for a